So good afternoon, everybody. This is going to be a challenge for me because I am not going to be tethered to this podium, and so I'm going to try to release this if I can and start moving amongst you. I think we have about 45 minutes or so to move through this presentation, and as I reflected on preparation for today, there's so many things that I want to say in a 45-minute period of time, and trying to distill a high-performing school district down to a 45-minute presentation is a very much of a challenge in that sense. So I'm going to move real fast. Those who know me well know that I can talk, know that I have never met a microphone I didn't like, and as according to my wife, who's not here today, said I never met a wall that I wouldn't talk to. So in that sense, bear with me as I move through this process, as I talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, the St. Mary's County Public School System. And first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that we've already acknowledged our elected officials. I want to personally ask if you would please give the elected Board of Education in St. Mary's County a resounding, thunderous round of applause, if you would. Their support is just incredible. They are smart individuals, they get it, and they represent communities so well in terms of their knowledge base of which they present. There are a number of other individuals in here today that we're going to acknowledge through the presentation. I thank all of our great partners and the sponsors of this event, my great friend here, Vince, from ServPro, and others, the Chamber. I just really thank for that overall partnership. And I view partnerships very much like a garden. Very much like a garden in the sense that you have to tend to those relationships every day. Some days you have to make certain you're adding the right amount of water, the right amount of fertilizer. You have to pull out some weeds every now and then. And what I can say, the garden of partnerships in St. Mary's County Public Schools is just blooming and thriving, and we are receiving that bounty of that harvest every day. So I thank all of you as partners. I challenge you every time I speak to you to ramp that up, in any way that you can in terms of your kind support. But when I look out at the audience, there's not one individual in this room that I don't know personally, that I can talk to you about something in your life as well beyond our business partnership. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is real. That defines our community. It defines this wonderful community that we call St. Mary's County that we all have a vested interest in. And I recognize very clearly as this pretty energetic guy in town who leads the school system of 18,000 young people strong, that so goes the school system, so goes the community, and so goes the community, so goes the school system. So we all have a vested interest. So as a teacher, as you know that I started many years as a teacher, I'm going to present this as a very large classroom today experience. So in front of you, you have several materials that I want you to follow along with. I also want you to pay attention to me as I'm talking, so don't be too distracted by the materials. In front of you, you have our vision plan that is defined as charting a course to excellence. You also have a very, very robust annual report, Every metric that you could possibly think of is contained within that report. Your homework is now, as you are a participant in this event, is to now talk to at least 10 people in your business organization about our metrics, about our analytics, about all of our data points. Use that as a marketing tool as you're looking to recruit prospective employees into the district, because we know that one of the top questions that individuals ask when they move into community is, what is the quality of the public school system? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to tell you that the quality of our public school system is in great shape. The school system is strong and vibrant. It is strong and vibrant, containing close to 18,000 young people every day who we are trying to make certain that we are preparing them for college and careers, that we're doing everything that we can to make certain they graduate, but also supported by a very strong foundation of great educational employees. So I'm going to try to stay on task to move through this process, so bear with me. We want to acknowledge the fact that we had our Chopticon students in front of us today. They've had to go back to the school. We have several of our ambassadors who were here, and I don't know where they went. They may have had to go back as well. If you saw individuals in gold jackets, they were greeting you as they came in. They were ambassadors from the Force Center. Our own student board member, Peter Widmeyer, he's also an ambassador. We were very pleased to have them. So let's dig in. So you have your materials. You have all of your data points, you have all of our overview, and you're challenged now to take that back and tell others. And what we want to talk about is the vision. We've been doing this work together collectively for 8 years. And I have to look at things in terms of the data points of when I became superintendent, July 1st, 2005. And very much data-driven in terms of our processes. I always look at our data, I look at our performance outputs, and see how I can make sense of that data to get better results. Using that data to make better results. And not running away from the data either. Being brutally honest about it, but also using it to justify budgetary decisions, implementation of programs, and moving forward. But also putting it out there in a format where people understand. So as a teacher, I spend lots of my time taking the macro and distilling it down to the micro in an explainable way so people get it. See, there's a lot of jargon that we use in education, and we're real good about that. You know, you hear things out there, and then people go, I don't know what that means. But the reality is, if you have a conversation with folk who really know what they're talking about, it's pretty easy to understand. But we've been doing this sustained work for 8 years, and I'm very proud and honored to serve as your superintendent for the next 4 years, and I'm very honored to do that, and very proud to say that I am the superintendent of the St. Mary's County Public School System, representing St. Mary's County, because I'm going to tell you right now, St. Mary's County is a force to reckon with. St. Mary's County is a force to reckon with in the state and in the nation. And we all need to be telling our story loud and strong, because what's going on in this community, educationally, in all other facets of our community, if it were a model, this should be used as a model for the nation. And if everybody took care of their slice of the pie at the level of which we are doing as a community, exponentially the quality of life for individuals in America would rise overnight. So I'm very proud of the work occurring educationally for our students. We want to thank all of our partners, and I made it very clear about the fact that if I tried to acknowledge all of our partners individually, I know I would let somebody out, and I'm not going to do that. You're on the list. You're on the list. So find yourself on the list. And we thank you. We thank you for all that. And give yourself a collective round of applause for your partnerships. I want to make certain that I touch base with all of you all the time, and we're always here to partner, but there's great relationships with everybody in this room. I've already acknowledged our wonderful Board of Education and really thank them as elected officials for what they do. They constantly are receiving training with MABE, the Maryland Associations of Boards of Education. They're highly, in terms of, competent in the sense of governance, and they're very much representative. They are so visible. I tell a quick story. My first 6 months on the job, when my previous position in Howard County, if one board member showed up to the event, that was really good. And one of my jobs was to make sure we had board members' representation. So up until about December, I was on the move, you know, my first year as superintendent. And everywhere I went, all 5 board members would be with me. And I finally said to them, you know, I really think that's really nice, but all 5 don't have to be there. And they looked at me and said, this has nothing to do with you. This is what we do. We're out there all the time in that sense. So they're very active in representing community views. As I stated, our school system is strong and vibrant. I've not been as optimistic in the past. I'm an optimistic guy by nature, but we've experienced challenges in the past. I've said in the past that we've been under siege, or that there's been concerns in terms of the economic climate. But we've weathered that well together with the partners in here, with our elected officials. We've come out of that at a level, and we still have concerns. But we are now back to that level of high performance, that level of vibrancy, where we're just not sort of hanging on to the edge. We're now to the level now where we're robust and growing and advancing. So as I say, strong, vibrant, and robust. We are doing whatever it takes for young people. This is our mantra in our school system, doing whatever it takes for our young people. Everybody is bought into that completely. And then people ask you, after you've been in, doing this work for a number of years, people say, you become this wise old sage. And I don't like to use the word old in there, but I'll take the sage piece in the sense people ask, like, what keeps you up late at night? What do you worry about? What drives you? These 2 statements here drive me and the work of our staff members every day. We want to make certain, first and foremost, all of our children are safe, and I'm going to talk about that deeper. All children are college and career ready, and that all children aiming for a graduation rate of 90% to ensure that more children are graduating every year. And I'm going to get into that momentarily as well and tell you how we're doing. But that's what I worry about: safety of children, safety of staff, more children graduating, and more children prepared for their future so that they can be productive citizens of society in that sense. So here's our goal, and I want to kind of frame this a little bit. This is our goal, to have 90%. But I have to ask you, when you're asking about this data, in comparison to what? So as a good teacher and as an individual who has lots of background in research and statistics and math, you have to say in terms of data points, in comparison to what? So if I tell you our graduation rate is X, you should say, how does that compare to the state? Well, let me tell you, the state is about 84%, somewhere in that range. How does that compare to the nation? and the nation ranges anywhere between 72 and 74%. So keep those two numbers in your mind as I'm talking about where we are with our graduation rate in comparison to what? National and state. And then we disaggregate that in terms of student groups, in terms of our schools and how we're performing there and the growth. But I need to say when I put numbers out, numbers can be put out in many different ways, but I want you trained as community members to say, hey, in comparison to the state average, here's where we are. In compared to the nation, here's where we are. And hey, we're doing pretty darn good in regards to that once I present some of this. Our mission statement continues to be, know the learner and the learning. Know the learner and the learning every day. Know about the curriculum, the pedagogy, and the instruction. Know our learner, our backgrounds of our young people. Expecting excellence in both. Never compromising. Making certain that every child sees that level of excellence. That we don't tolerate mediocrity. That word I have no tolerance for in my vocabulary. And that we just accept the fact of mediocrity in terms of being good. See, good is a real enemy of great because people just like to be good and mediocre. But when you strive for excellence and you strive for that higher level, magical things happen and kids will go to that highest level. We will not accept excuses. I will not accept excuses from anybody who says that we can't do certain things for our kids. Individuals know who work for me closely said, come to me with a problem and provide me with 3 solutions. Don't just come and drop a problem on, but come with 3 solutions so we can knock down those barriers of preventing children from learning. Educating all, not just some, but every child in this school system, regardless of their background, the diversity of our school system, every child should have that level of equality, and we focus on that all day long. With rigor, relevance, respect, and positive relationships. And those who know all of us well know that we're all about positive relationships. I talk about the positional power versus relationship power. I have no tolerance for positional power individuals who think they're so important and they're going to get things done because of the fact of who they are. We get more things done in this community because of our relationships with each other. And that's stronger and more sustainable. And that's what we're doing every day with our staff as they build relationships with our young people and our families. People care about each other and they trust each other as a result. And as a result of that, wonderful things continue to happen. Embedded in your information, and I'm going to go through this real fast, is the new vision plan for the school system that I introduced to the Board of Education this year. I've introduced it to the commissioners. We've distilled down 15 priority points that I initially introduced and have distilled that down to 10 points. And I'm convinced if we tend to all of those points simultaneously, all at once with urgency and in motion, and that everybody owns one of those moving forward, magical things happen. Because see, ladies and gentlemen, in our business, there is not just one silver bullet. You know, people will come to me, if you just do this, then magic happens. No. Education of a young person is intricate. There's all kinds of variables that interfere with learning, and we have to do a myriad of things moving in tandem. So I can tell you about a lot of heavy lifts that we've done that make a true difference, but all of these things moving in motion. And I use an expression, what gets measured gets done. When you set your metrics and you have your performance outputs, if you set that goal and you're moving towards that target with a level of fidelity, magical things will happen on behalf of children. But you have to stay focused, and you have to have a vision. You have to have a clear vision because we all know without a vision we will perish. We will truly perish without that vision. And that vision is so defined, and great leaders talk about the vision all day long. They talk about the processes that lead to the product that leads to that overall achievement of the vision. And wrapped around all of that is the relationships that you build with your people. So tending to our people all day long and making certain we have the very best people working with our students is critical to the work. So when I can say we have the best programs, you should come back and say, who are those people running those programs? Because for me, programs are people and people are programs. You can have some of the best programs with individuals who are not at the high quality, and then those programs go by the wayside. You can have mediocre programs being run by exceptional people, and magic happens in that sense. So all of this is truly in the continuous improvement arena, looking at consistency, collaboration, and consensus and communication, all aligned with our Board of Education goals and all aligned with our Race to the Top goals, which is our federal and state mandates. So this year, spending a lot of time on innovation, challenging every person in this school district to do something different, to do that next great move, to not sit back and be complacent. What are those latest technologies, and why, and we were just putting a computer out there, are we utilizing them to the highest level? But to be innovative and to create partnerships and professional learning communities where we're sharing those best practices all day long. And we have some of the brightest teachers and staff members that I have ever experienced in my many years as being an educator. And I've been around a number of school districts, and I can compare and contrast that rather very clearly, and we have some dedicated individuals. Here's at the bottom line. Take this away with you and tell everybody. We believe all children can and will learn. Now, believe it or not, there are people out there that believe that some kids can't because of their background, because of their gender or their race. But if I challenged you, do you believe all children can and will learn? I hope you would say yes. But if I said, do all boys, do you believe all boys? You go, I've had a couple boys who plucked my last nerve. I'm not sure they can at the same level as girls. It starts challenging. Do you believe poor kids can? I'm not sure. Do you believe individuals from different races can? But see, we come to grips with knowing the learner and our knowing ourselves. If we have bias, that we've got to eliminate that bias because we believe all children can and will learn in that sense. So getting into the metrics, I'm moving fast, and I'm really revved up now, so watch. My hands will start flying. I might hit you inadvertently. Sorry, Trish, if I do. I'm sorry. You're in the front row. So 25 schools and growing. 3 centers, 17 elementary, 1 public charter school. The only charter school in Southern Maryland, and it is thriving because partnerships and community came together to make that work. 3 high schools, 4 middle schools, and 3 program centers. Our Fairlead Academy and the 4 Center, another robust offering of which we have. Continuing, here's something that you need to walk away with, a shock and awe data point. July 1st, 2005, when I walked into this school system as superintendent, our enrollment was slightly over 16,500. Calvert County had a larger student enrollment than we did at that time, and we know where Charles County was, always a little bigger based upon size. The fast fact is, take a look at where we are now. Close to 18,000. We are one of the third fastest growing school system in Maryland. And at the same time, Calvert County has now gone down in enrollment. They have less public school enrollment than what we have. We've gone up tremendously. We're the 3rd fastest growing school system in the state of Maryland. So you see this robust level in terms of our capital improvement project. I'll talk more about that momentarily, but we need to build more schools. At the same time, our daily average attendance rate is 94, a high metric. So if you're understanding about dropout rate, you need to understand the first thing that starts emerging is kids who stop attending school. And when you stop attending school, how can you be in school to take advantage of the rich tutelage and instruction that occurs? It's a first indicator of dropout, and that occurs at our elementary level. Right, Ms. Bowling? We all monitor that. This is not just a high school issue. It starts at the elementary level. Mobility, and you need to understand that. Why am I talking about mobility? Because we have to have a consistency of curriculum delivery. So when children move from one school to the next or one district to the next, there's a level of consistency. And so we do have mobility in our school district because we are a military community. And recognizing that our mobility is 17.3% at the elementary, close to 12% at the middle, and close to 11% at the high school. And 35% of our young people are associated with the military. 1/3 of our school district, over 6,000 individuals, are associated with the military. You have to know that because of how that we respond to individuals who move into our district. It's very challenging if you're a child in the military moving from district to district. You know, I hear stories from our families all the time that this is their 10th school district that they've been in, and their child's only in 11th grade. You know, think about what that does to a young person. So we absorb them, we accept them, and we move them along instructionally. But also, and the other thing to keep in mind, as a district in comparison to what, when I told you about 18,000 young people in our school district, we think because we're in the state of Maryland, we're a small district. Newsflash, anything over 15,000 students in terms of a school system in America is defined as large. The average size of a school system in America is between 3,000 and 5,000. We just happen to be in a county structure in a state that has a Montgomery County and a Prince George, these large mega systems. But we are a large system, but we think we're just a little system. No, we're not. Newsflash, we're big. We've got a lot of kids. And multiply that by 18,000, multiply that by 2, go to that number, well over 35,000 parents who know me personally, who all call on a regular basis. And so we are very vibrant. Got to talk to Mike. Got to talk to him. And I say that with great affection. But we're on the top 25 list of largest school systems in America. Out of 13,000 school systems in America, we're in the top 25 as far as children associated with the military. Did I frame that the understanding where you are with that? Class sizes, we tend to this all day long. 18 is our average class size at pre-K, 20 is our kindergarten, 22 elementary, 19 middle, and 22 are high. Those are very low class sizes. Now, obviously, that's the average, and we look at adjustments throughout the school, but we have protected that. This board has traditionally protected that. Our county officials have protected that because we know the higher those class sizes, it starts having a bearing on terms of instruction and management. And not to mention, what I'm very proud about is the fact that our kindergarten enrollment, we recognize we want young people reading, is the fact that we have to make certain that we have the right staff there, but also the fact is we have paraeducators working in those classrooms too. That further reduces that class size. So let me continue. I'm moving fast. Enrollment, I said close to 18,000. I think on the other slide, one thing I moved past real quickly, 96% of our staff is highly qualified. That's the highest level, Dale, that we've ever been in terms of it. That means that 96% of our staff has met all the requirements necessary, and the individuals, and you're talking about that 4%, we're always looking at them in terms of critical need classrooms, hard to fill classrooms. We have to make some adjustments in terms of provisional certifications to cover those, but 96 is one of the highest in the state of Maryland, if not the highest, and it's the highest level we've ever been. So all of this collective work is working together. Round of applause there, Dr. Rasmussen. Let me continue to move. Student body, as you see the breakdown, and all of this is in your papers. We're predominantly, close to 67% of our students are Caucasian. We have another 18%, 18.5 are African American, and then 5.9 are Hispanic, a growing population in our community overall. And then we have Native American and Asian, and 2 or more races is another adjustment in terms of how reporting. That category has increased to 5.2% because that's now an official way of rating your race in terms of that acknowledgement. But what I need to tell you too is that 13.23% is Title I, Title I schools. We serve breakfast in all of those schools. We provide those extra supports, and we have 7, 8, 9 schools in that category that require that we have breakfast in every one of the schools. 1.08 limited English proficiency, and here's the shock and awe data I want you to walk away with. From 2005 till now, our free and reduced meals rate has gone up 10%. 10%. So as we think we're very vibrant and affluent and well economically, there's a silent surge going on here in the community where we're now at 32.6, 32.8, I believe. We've gone up 10 percentage points. This is the highest level we've ever been right now in terms of free and reduced meals. Larger enrollment and largest number of free and reduced meals, students who qualify. That means that we still have lots of work to do about the poverty, and everybody can relate to poverty. And if I were to put this disaggregated information out, you'd say, well, that's not my school. That's not my community. It's everywhere. No longer our schools, any of our schools are in single digits. Every one of our schools is in double digits. And if you were to ask me specific schools, I would tell you schools that you would think, that can't be this school. Yeah, it is. There are poverty pockets all through our county, and that's the next heavy lift that we have to really embrace because that has a direct bearing on instruction, readiness, achievement gap, all of those issues. Here's another piece. 9.5 of our student body qualifies for special education services, and Melissa Charbonnet, she's over there. Her staff does a phenomenal job in that arena, constantly tending to the issues of our young people, and rightly so. But the other piece is, here's another piece. 176 of our young people are defined as homeless. That's St. Mary's County. That's the other part of our county when we think about it, the poverty rate, our homeless. So what drives me is to ensure that every child, regardless of their background, is receiving that quality education. And so these are pieces that have shifted for us, and that's at a high level. That number will go up sometimes as high as in the 200s. That number shifts constantly. So moving, let me now go to some of our outstanding staff. All this work that's happening here is because of our outstanding staff. So I'm going to ask you to quickly give these individuals a round of applause. Sean Snyder is our SMCPS Teacher of the Year. Sean, stand up, a mathematics teacher at Leonardtown High. Give him a round of applause. Outstanding math teacher. Maureen Weisham, a music teacher at Greenview Knolls, the Washington Post Agnes Meyer Teacher of the Year. Please stand up, Maureen. Outstanding music teacher. done some wonderful performances. Thank you for being here with us today. Deborah Bowling, the principal of Benjamin Banneker Elementary School, the outstanding distinguished leader at the Washington Post, represents us so well. And Antone Smith, our educational support professional of the year. He is the safety assistant team leader at Chopticon. I can't even believe you don't have red on today. The man bleeds red, literally. Okay, you got the orange on today. I'm not sure what school that is. Staff, we have a lot of staff members, and so these fine individuals, I talked about the highly qualified, and that's already there, 96.3, but recognize that we have close to 1,500 teachers. 72% of them hold advanced professional certifications and degrees. 13.83 is the average years of service, and that's telling right there, because a lot of teachers leave the profession after the first 5 years. That's our average. And I'm truly about the whole aspect of tenure and having the aspect of experience, because experience matters. A few years ago, when we offered that early retirement incentive, and I saw all this talent go out the door, it was a very sad day for us. But we have some very talented individuals. And what I'm seeing this time around also is our teachers are coming out of college so well prepared that they're actually providing professional development for our seasoned teachers. So there's this real sort of commingling and symbiotic relationship with each other to advance each other. It used to be that we bring the new teachers along. They're coming and making contributions, particularly in the technological arenas, because they're a part of that generation that does that all day long. 770 strong classified staff. Go ahead, I won't hit your coffee pot as you're going through. Be careful, she's nervous. And the essential survival skills, and I want to move through this. So business folk in this room, this was all generation. This is something that drives me again all day. Why are we doing what we do? This is the 21st century achievement gap goals in terms of the global achievement gap. And I'm going to move quickly. These are skills that kids, young people are in need to have to perform in terms of the workplace. Collaboration across networks, leading by influence, initiative and entrepreneurialism, the ability to be able to access and analyze information. So much out there, how do they make decisions about thin slicing that information and getting the right information? Curiosity and imagination through all these educational opportunities, never deaden curiosity and imagination. Always keep that alive. And equip children with critical thinking skills, critical thinking and problem solving. And being able to be agile and adaptable, depending upon what the problem is, to be able to shift simultaneously if different information and data is presented. Being able to teach that skill. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, still the number one issue for the business world when they talk about prospective employers, and I'm going to see if I get any head nods, is oral and written communication. When you have an individual who may be so smart, but they can't articulate their thoughts, or they can't write them out in a cogent sentence. So what we try to do is make certain that every young person has that opportunity to present a project, to present, and always working on public speaking and written. And that's part of the development as we go there too. So we're moving to the race to the top. We're moving through this great reform. Now it's getting a little bit of traction. Everybody's opposed to the core standards. We've been doing them for the last 2 years. And it's very simple to understand, and I try to educate the community on a regular basis about this. But it basically is, we're talking about 4 assurances, standards and assessments, the new curriculum that's in place in 45 states, Common Core. Data systems to support that, we've got that in place, always monitoring instruction. Great teachers and great leaders, the very best to recruit them at a higher level and a higher standard with professional development. And at the end of the day, any low-performing schools that we're working to turn them around. I'm proud to say that we don't have any schools in that category that meet that criteria, but that doesn't mean that I don't have my local measures that we're looking at to improve the instruction in all of our schools. So again, the Common Core, I could spend a whole presentation on that, but in essence what that is, Common Core is a set of standards that defines what a young person should be able to do at the end of a grade level, and by the time they finish school, that defines whether they're college and career ready. Very simple. It's not the curriculum. We are in charge of the curriculum. We've been doing this for the last several years, and we did this in the reform curriculum before. We're taking things at a deeper level as opposed to running fast. More opportunities to write, more opportunities to do the analytical analysis, the more opportunity to say that not one way is the only way. So many of us grew up, here's how you do long division. And if you didn't do it that way, it was wrong. We're giving children opportunities to solve problems by using cognitive guided instruction, opportunities to show that you can do that work differently and present it in different ways. Critical thinking and thought process. And it's something that I embrace very clearly because it ties in to that global achievement gap. Continuing to move fast. is the fact that we have now really focused in, and a goal for anybody in this community, help me advocate down the road, universal pre-K needs to be our next heavy lift. We need to have all-day pre-K for all of our students in St. Mary's County. And it's going to be a heavy lift, and I appreciate that applause because it is a huge lift in the sense that we are already making inroads in the arena with more than 1,100 of our young children in the pre-K arena are experiencing a half-day program. Since we've now moved the Head Start program into our offerings, our portfolio of offerings through the grant process, we've now increased that by over 172 individuals, or 174 individuals that we have involved. So we have them in the infants and toddler program, preschool special education, Head Start, pre-K available spaces, and the Judy Center. All of those offerings in this one portfolio around early childhood, and recognizing the global achievement gap. The achievement gap starts at birth. And not every young person has that ability to have family members who support education and in an environment that's supportive of nurturing ways to support education. So young people need to be read to. They need to have affirming language. But if you're in an environment where somebody says to you, sit down and be quiet, and uses other choice words and say, sit in front of the TV all day, and you're drinking Mountain Dew, that's not good. That's not, I hope I didn't offend anybody who loves Mountain Dew. Not good in the baby bottle. But there are places in America where that's known, in the Appalachian, where individuals are putting Mountain Dew in their baby bottles. And if you're at the poverty index level, the nutritional levels start to suffer, and it has a direct bearing in terms of instruction. So what I'm trying to do is close that gap, as we all are, with the level of urgency, and we know that these pre-K programs work because we have a basis for our overall implementation with our kindergarten program. There's further evidence of those beautiful children in our Head Start program. Our MMSR data, it's a tongue twister, is the Maryland model of school readiness data, is that we have a battery of tests that we put all of our young people through who enter pre-K. 88% of our children are ready to enter kindergarten when they come. That's one of the highest in the state. State average is low 80s, and we're one of the highest. We've been as high as 93. So you say compared to 83 in the state of Maryland, it matters. 95% of our students, we talk about the MSA right now, but I'm not going to get into that too much because it's going away. I mean, there's great conversation about this. We've shifted to the new curriculum, but still we continue to perform at a high level, 80s and 90%, and those are A's and B's for me. But we're shifting to the new assessments to ensure that children are receiving that rich college-ready curriculum. Continuing along, as I'm moving real fast now, is the fact that our AP scores continue to go up in our participation. Students enrolled in at least one AP class, 1,455. The goal is to have every young child, every young person go through our school system and experience at least one AP class, and we're moving into that inroad. We also made some adjustments in terms of incentivizing. If you go and you put in the time, student in the AP course, and you study hard for that exam, you pay for it up front, but if you get a 3, we'll reimburse you. We'll reimburse you. That's an instructional decision. We have increased to 67.2% of our young people receiving a 3 or higher. And what that says is colleges are looking at using that as a number that accepts that for college credit. And think about that if you're managing the cost of college and you're taking advantage of the CSM opportunities and concurrent and dual enrollment and AP. Many of our young people are graduating with over 30 credits going into college. And if you're looking at that from a financial management piece, that saves a whole year of college costs. So people are being very savvy and getting this rich curriculum, and we're thrilled to offer these. AP exams, 1,650 offered. SAT trends continue to outperform Maryland and the nation. I'd like to throw in Calvert and Charles, too, because we do, but on who's competitive. But we are rocking and rolling with our young people. But the issue for me is I want more children taking the SAT, and that sometimes has an issue in terms of performance. So you need to understand that. I want more children prepared for the SAT. We're offering the PSAT to every child in the school district. I'd like to get to the level of some way we could offer the SAT to all of our young people in the school district. How am I doing on time? What time is it? Anybody want to tell me? Just about up. Oh, how about that? Okay, well, who said that? Okay, well, I'm in charge. I got the clicker. I'm going to keep going. All right, dual enrollment. It's wonderful. We're having more kids taking college classes during the school day. Kids doing that, we're helping along with that. It's a wonderful thing, the college readiness. Moving quickly, high school assessments. All of our children passed, all of our graduates had 100%, but more children are passing with a combined option of the scores, and then 6.7 using the bridge in comparison to 84% of the state of Maryland students who are using the bridge option in addition to the scores. We're at 92% just with the score of the combination. So continuing through, here's the one I'm really pleased about. Take a look at this and absorb this. You can't see it. It's an eye test probably. At the same time, and I've already alluded to this, at the same time, our graduation rate in 2005 was 85%. Not good. A couple years before that, it was 82%. Not good. Our farms rate in 2005 was 23%. So I'm going to go back to that time, July 1st, 2005. Graduation rate was 85.8%. Farms rate was 23%. We've increased in enrollment. We've increased our farms rate by 10%, and our graduation rate has gone up to 90%. I can't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how important that data point is, because most school districts, the trend is the other way. As the farms rate goes up, as growth continues, graduation rate goes down. So we've really cracked a nut here. The graduation rate has gone up. We've submitted to the state, our graduating class last year, 90.3 for our 4-year graduation rate, 89.34 somewhere in there, Scott, for our 5-year rate. Comparison to what? Farms rate going up, enrollment going up. State, I told you, is about 84, 85%. National, 74%. What's our graduation rate? 90. Hey, we're doing pretty good. We're in rarefied airs. When we got that, that's that high-hanging fruit, and I'm jumping, and that branch kept going a little higher. When we submitted this, and this guy here, I bang on his head all day. What is it? What is it? What is it? He finally said, I think we got it, 90.3. Literally, there was a moment. It just stopped. The clouds opened. Angels came down from heaven, cherubim and seraphim, gongs, and I said, nobody going to ruin my day today, and don't try, because this is good stuff. This is what you need to tote for economic development. When people ask the graduation rate, we're soaring at this level in a 5% gain, and Leonardtown and Chopticon well over 90%. The great work that's occurring at Great Mills, a 6% gain in 1 year with interventions and belief systems, phenomenal, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to continue moving along. College and graduates, more kids going to college, 83% of our kids going on to college, 9% going to the workforce, 7% to the military. Robust pathways model, choice, you know about choice, providing options for young people. Over 10% of our student body is involved in choice programs, over 2,000, that was our goal, 10%. And here's all the different academies: the Chesapeake Public School, the STEM program, Academy of Finance, GIS, Fair Lead 1, Fair Lead 2, all these programs. The Force Center, 2,104 kids in choice-based programs. And when kids find what they like to do, they're more engaged. Think about when you find a job you love, you never work again. Same philosophy with young people in that sense. So moving along. So here's the next right thing. So all of you, I need you to help me on this. We're not done. We're never done. We're shifting resources, continuous improvement. I want to introduce the following programs to our school system: a Visual and Performing Arts Academy. We're looking right now, I've got a task force working on this right now. We're going to look at that offering at Chopticon High. We're providing that framework right now of shifting resources, staffing needs, because our kids are so talented, and that's another hook to keep kids in school. We're going to be introducing this and vetting that with our Board of Education, taking it through the budget, through the Board of County Commissioners. That's something very exciting. Working with Jamie Raley, my good friend here, working with the Farm Bureau. We had a great community meeting the other night. The CASE program. We have to acknowledge this rich agricultural community of which we live. And gone are the days, the future farmers of America have really dried up here in this county overall as far as our program. It was very robust at one point. We are an agricultural community, and I'm very disappointed that that's gone away. We want to make a commitment to bring that back, but at a higher level. CASE is the curriculum of agricultural science education, and we had representatives for Anne Arundel School System come down the other night, and it was phenomenal. And we're going to work through that as well and provide that offering. 2 great programs that link directly to our students in our school system and our community. STEM for All, we received that great grant of $2.5 million. We have more tablets out there and all kinds of technological advances, and I got to move real fast. Bonnie Green, I want to bow to you again for the Patuxent Partnership, the work that you do for us in terms of your resources, the support, having the Pax River Flight Academy, the only one in this region of the nation, as a result of some great minds bringing those forward. Gary Kessler, other individuals on base, led by Bonnie Green to bring that forward. We now have the National Flight Academy in the Force Center, and it's phenomenal. High, rich activities going on, from ball, destination imagination, to robotics. STEM for All, making certain. All of our offerings as far as technology, Kindles, Moodle, I can throw all kinds of names out there, but the challenge is our children should not be at a disadvantage because they are from St. Mary's County. Every individual moving into this county, coming in now says, this county is unbelievable as far as the school system, the resources that are there for our young people. It shouldn't be just left for the higher performing areas where there's more affluence. Our children need to be able to compete with every child in America and every child in the world, because we know the world is flat. So we're constantly moving things through budgetary. We have leasing agreements. We're moving things forward because we know for certain there are probably 10 other implementations just waiting to be rolled out in the next year in terms of the latest, greatest thing. So we've got to keep our kids right where they need to be, but not just for the sake of having a device. How does it assist in learning? 21st century learners, the real workplace. Great focus in terms of diversity. In the midst of everything that we're talking about, we have to have a diverse staff, tend to the diversity of our student body, know that children don't learn in the same way in the same day, that we have diverse learners. Every child needs to be seeing their fulfillment in the future, regardless of their background, their poverty levels. We want to make certain all of that is equalized and supported, and we need to embrace that. Our county is shifting in terms of demographics, and we need to constantly tend to that data and do everything that we can. And again, our partnership with the NAACP, with community groups, all of those things work for the betterment. So I appreciate the total work in this arena, because no child should be bullied or feeling left out just because of their background or if they're perceived to be different. And that is a constant issue that we need to address over and over. CIP, let me move through this real quickly. Again, Commissioner Morgan is here. Commissioner Morris, we thank you for your continued support of our capital improvement budget as well as our operating budget. And again, take this back to the county commissioners. We have a lot of things in motion, and we're very pleased about it. We've got the Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School. Is that a cool name or what? I didn't realize there were so many P-38 items out there to wear. I just got another tie board. I forgot to tell you about it. Somebody gave me a tie with a P-38 plane on it. But that is the greatest thing. This is another wonderful new school in the heart of Leonardtown. It was acknowledged in the Veterans Day Parade. That's going to cost this community $27 million. That's no small change. So we're thinking for the future. Highly lead school in that sense, shooting for the highest level, but an instructional environment that has to stand the test of time. It's a brick and mortar structure that has to be built for the future, not today, in that sense. And we're thrilled. And the good news about this is, if you have the time, go back and take a look at Evergreen, but I'm convinced that the majority of our citizens have not seen Evergreen because it sits way at the end of Wildwood. But by a show of hands, how many have seen Evergreen, have actually seen it? Okay, more than I thought. But guess where this new school is going to go? Right on Hollywood Road, right across from the governmental center, and every citizen coming into the county seat will see it up there on the hill. And we're so pleased about the design, and we're working with the community. We'll keep you posted about that. Here's one. This was a tragic day. Had a long day, had a very long day. Had a board meeting that went till 10:15. I get in the door, and I'm exhausted. My phone rings from Kathy Allen, one of my board members. I said, I just talked to you. What do you need? What could we possibly talk more about? I'm sitting here with my shoes off. She goes, got to tell you, we just heard over the scanner there's a fire at Spring Ridge. John Gatton, is John correct? Mr. Gatton, who's always scanning the scanner for us, immediately has the fire connection, calls us, said, I don't have a report of that. It can't be true. We call, he had the information before we did. The school caught on fire. Thank goodness, because of community members, that fire could have been devastating. It could have destroyed the whole building. But we quickly made some adjustments. Our county commissioners, and I'm not blowing smoke, guys, this is real. Our county commissioners have forward funded $10 million. $10 million. $10 million. In collaboration with John Bohannon, at the state level, Senator Dyson, our delegation, I can now take this through the process, and people need to understand this. If we didn't have that $10 million, Spring Ridge renovation would not occur. There are two major projects in play right now that typically a school district our size does not get that kind of money in terms of CIP, but because of the forward funding and the cash flow, that $10 million forward funding allows us to renovate Spring Ridge. At the same time, we're building the new school. And I'm advancing that process through the process that occurs at the state level. I attend the IAC meeting that occurs in the next week or two to justify in front of the state superintendent and others, and then to the Board of Public Works with the governor and the comptroller and the state treasurer, where we advocate for further funding. Indication is we're going to be on track with all of that, and that funding is going to occur because of the forward funding, and we thank you for that. And please tote that back to the other commissioners as well. I told Commissioner Russell about that again. This project is $25 million, so if you added that up, that's well over $50 million in play. And again, safety continues to be our major issue. We want to make sure that our kids are safe every day, our staff is safe, and in light of the Sandy Hook issue, we can never let our guard down. Our children and our staff need to be safe every day. And Mike Wyant, please stand. Mike, give him a round of applause if you would. I know he doesn't like the attention. I can give attention to all these folks. He has single-handedly has just brought an incredible focus in terms of his background in law enforcement to the safety. When I got here in 2005, we didn't have a director of safety and security. How things have changed, and all day long he thinks and worries about that. Quality learning environments. Where's my maintenance team? All the individuals from supporting services, please stand if you would. Steve Whidden, Jeff Thompson, all the individuals there. Mike Jones, Ashley Varner, under the leadership of our Deputy Superintendent, Brad Clements, do a tremendous job from green schools to design and construction to maintenance, some of the cleanest, finest schools in the community, in the state, I should say, in the nation. Continuing, quality learning environments, transportation, I just went through that. Overall operating budget, $189 million. A lot of money, ladies and gentlemen, that our taxpayers are putting into this educational facility in our school system. But recognizing that we're using all those dollars judiciously. I always talk about the fact that over 80% of those dollars go to our staff in terms of benefits and salary. We talk about the other parts of it going to fuel and transportation. But the reality is, when you think $189 million, people say, they've got lots of money. 10% of that, close to 9% of that, is discretionary for curriculum. But I also recognize that we need to compensate our staff at the highest levels because it's highly competitive. Several of you had conversations with me. There's a lot of stopping points before they get to St. Mary's County. People can make a decision to stop at Charles and Calvert before they come to St. Mary's. We have to keep competitive salaries, benefits, and a quality of life for individuals so we get the best teachers and they want to stay. And they do. But recognize that budget has got every penny down to the last penny, I should say, in terms of allocated in a judicious way. Vision and inspiration continues, but I'm going to go through this real quick. This is my last slide, Mr. Scarfia, so don't, just relax. Just relax. Everybody take a deep breath. All this is aligned in your homework. You'll read this tonight. You'll tell your 10 people about all of that. But I'm going to tell you about my challenges. This stuff does keep me up late at night, and I think about it all day long because you're never done when it comes to doing the work for children. Things are constantly shifting. We need to fully implement the Common Core, and we're doing that well, and our teachers are doing a phenomenal job with it. I acknowledge our union president back there, Anna Laughlin, and our UNISERV director, Liz Leskinen. They've been great collaborative partners with us through this process, protecting the interests of teachers. Need to address the growth and changing demographics. If you got enough information to understand that today, about the fact of where we are with our growth, our changing our demographics, and how all that's shifted, but yet our graduation numbers are continuing to go up. The need for new schools. Commissioners know this well. Board of Education knows this well. We're not done. We need to build another high school. We need to build a middle school in the future. We're growing that rapidly. And we're moving that process along with a new school, and I'm so pleased with it for the elementary school, but we need to move to the next ones as well. We need to hire and retain the very best and brightest staff members and compensate them fully. We've made great inroads into that arena. We have 3 bargaining units. People sometimes don't understand that we deal with the fact that we have associations and representation, and compensation is always top of my mind because that budget contains 80% of personnel. I have to have the very best teachers in front of my kids every day, the very best staff, and we will not compromise that level of excellence in that sense, expecting excellence in all. Address the budget and ensure school system is fully funded. Need to stay focused on safety considerations, never letting down our guard. And every one of you need to know that if you hear of any threats to our school system or our children, or if somebody's suffering, shame on you if you don't communicate with me. My phone number's in the telephone book. People call, email me, text me, let me know, because we're all part of community. If a child is suffering or is in danger, or there's a concern or a threat to our school, let us know. We communicate well in this community. I always use the joke, somebody sneezes at White Marsh and they say, God bless you in Ridge. Word travels fast. And if those things are traveling out there, let us know. Stay focused on safety consideration. We want to move to tech books, not textbooks. Textbooks are old and gone. It's like a new car. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates. As soon as we put a textbook in a classroom in a hand, we spend lots of money on them. I'm not going to allow another purchase of a textbook to occur under my watch until we can shift to the tech books, using devices and online textbook resources, because information is so rapid and changing. We got to stop the textbook focus and move to tech books. We're establishing a partnership with Discovery Education in Silver Spring. They've fallen in love with our focus, and we're going to be working with them. Board of Education, I'll be bringing more information about that in the near future. To ensure every child is ready, promote universal pre-K. We've got to make certain our babies are ready to be accelerated to start this process to eliminate that gap of learning. Ensure technologies are relevant and accessible. Expand our pathways model. Tend to all those points simultaneously in that plan that we've got that you have in your hand. Make certain that what gets measured gets done with full fidelity and not watered down. And stay focused on that vision. And make sure every child is college and career ready. Every child graduates and meets or exceeds that graduation rate of 90%. Provide more after-school and summer programs and interventions. Need to make certain that all children are fed, and stay focused on diversity. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's another summary of that data. Increased enrollment, increased poverty, increased graduation rate. And phenomenal in that sense, our challenges. And nothing great, as I end with this, nothing great has ever occurred without enthusiasm. Ralph Waldo Emerson, nothing great has ever occurred without enthusiasm. I am so enthusiastic about the work in this school district. It is a phenomenal school system, strong and robust, every child achieving, kids are winning, and it's just great work. So if every superintendent in the United States took care of their slice of the pie the way this school system is being tended to, with the support of all your partners, kids would be winning all across America every day. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for enduring my very quick overview. That's about a 5-hour presentation, and I'll give you the longer version tonight. I'll be at the public libraries or at the board if you want to show up, just a joking on that side. But I thank you for your time and for your attention, and I'll answer any questions I can. Thank you very much.
You want to keep it to answer questions?
I will stay as long as we need to.
Okay, we'll try to get through as many of these as we can. I know people need to get out of here in a few minutes. Okay, so the first question. How is it that St. Mary's County is the 14th wealthiest county in America, but a full 1/3 of our students are on free or reduced meals?
That's a very interesting question. I wish I had the silver bullet to define that, but what we need to recognize is that the demographics have shifted. Overall, I think that we're a very friendly community to providing services. I think that we have a very quality school system where parents know that they're going to be providing those. We have a lot of individuals who are coming here from other states, who have relatives here, and it's very attractive. So how that compares to 14th, any community that has any level on that list has a level of poverty in their community. But what I'm trying to do is shine the light on that level of poverty, because individuals where communities really shifted and they don't tend to that along the way and put preventive programs and interventions in place, they wake up 10 years down the road and say, what's happened? And then it's too late. So every community, regardless of where you're ranking on that, whether we're 14 and we have that 32%, 33%, acknowledges the fact that I'm putting that out there to provide programs, but every community in America is struggling with this particular issue, and it's a pervasive issue of poverty increasing in America in general. We've got to come to grips with us in terms of this election cycle coming up for our local politicians and elected individuals to really shine the light on the level of poverty in this county and how that can be equalized in terms of providing services that are going to hit in terms of the issues of achievement. So that's my answer to that.
sharing the mic. With the increased news coverage on violence in schools across the country, when recruiting new teachers, how do you ensure them they will be working in a safe environment?
Wonderful question. Okay, so many of you know I've worked in other school systems. And I'm not passing judgment on other school systems right now, but I've worked in some really tough schools that all day long, all I worried about was law and order. There is a major concern about safety and violence in our schools across the nation. And we're not exempt from that. St. Mary's County has a representative sample of concerns. But what I can tell you is our suspension rate has gone way down. We're making certain that we're addressing issues. We're working with the Sheriff's Department in terms of making certain that young people are tended to in the ways that need to be in terms of accountability, but also making certain that our schools are safe every day, that we're putting in preventive programs to ensure that, and that we always keep our eye on that ball to make certain that every young person feels safe in school. And I personally say this. My youngest child is now out of the school system, and thank goodness for them. You know, it's hard being a Martirano in the school system in that sense. But there is not one school in this county that I would not put my children in. There is not one school in this county that I would not put my future grandchildren in. I have great confidence in what is occurring in our schools from the level of safety, but we also have to acknowledge that communities are under stress, and issues that occur in community do come into those issues do come into our schools. And so we have to work continued to provide support to our teachers and our staff and working with individuals like Mike Wyant to keep our schools safe.
Thank you. With all the emphasis on school safety and security, why isn't the Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department Emergency Management System the first responder for Evergreen Elementary School, as Hollywood is 2 minutes closer than the current first responder?
Well, you've stumped the superintendent. I don't know the answer to that. I just don't, and I have. That's a real specific. So whoever asked that question, what I'd like for you to do is powwow with Mr. Clements and Mr. Wyant at the end. What we try to do is we do that very judiciously, is the location geographically, to make certain that the response time is as quick as can be. We make that within a geographic response. And if there's something we need to re-examine there, I can't answer that at the level, but thank you for raising the issue, because I thought that we were having those things geographically responsive to make certain we were efficient so that there was no lag time in response. Good question.
What are your plans to expand Fairlead Academy, which you have said is a great success?
Ooh, yeah. Who sent me that? Was that one of my own staff? That was good. That was a good softball right in there. Now, how much time we got? That is truly, if you ask, as commissioners always do, why is some of these things happening in terms of allocating resources? There are two great heavy lifts that we've implemented that are in direct support of why our graduation rate is going up. One, we've stopped doing evening high school, because that's an area where we took all the kids and kind of who were not performing, put them all together, and guess what? They weren't performing there either. We're no longer doing evening high school. We've now shifted to an online recovery system using Apex that allows children to recover on their own, and we're seeing that level of increase. Plus, it tends to learning styles in a 21st century learner. It's ingenious, and we're going to be building that into the budget as our Sunset Grant has come forward this year. We want to advance that. Fairlead is the other great lift, because strategically what we did, we can predict with evidence with our data, is the fact that our young people in 8th grade, we knew who our young people were that would not graduate in 4 years. With a 15 to 20% predictive rate, we knew who those young people are that were going to drop out. We pulled them off. Put them in this program, and it's an emotional experience for me. I'm going to try to get through this without kind of cracking up here a little bit in this sense, because those first group of kids that went through, you know, remember the big fish, I'd kiss a fish thing? When we took that first group out and we put them on a skipjack, many of our young people had never been on the water before. Hard to believe in St. Mary's County. They've never seen the water, never experienced certain things. They stayed with us. The first cohort, 4-year graduation rate, predictive evidence was 15 to 20. Remember I told you? It was 84%. The 5-year graduation rate was 92. The second cohort last year was well over 90%. It's working, ladies and gentlemen. Different ways of approaching it, getting those 7 credits of graduation, longer time on task, great teachers working with them. And the goal is we've got Fairlead 1 and Fairlead 2. What we want to make certain is we're linking it to the Dr. James A. Force Career and Technology Center. The linkage is to a career, and we want to get to a full complement of about 300. 300 total. And we're right about 250 somewhere in that arena right now. And that's about capacity when you think about the 20% mark of where we want to be with our student body. We want to reach that level, but we also don't want to water it down. And so I've been very committed about it. We don't necessarily need a bricks and mortar program to do that. We can talk about that down the road later, but we've got a lot of other things in motion. But we've got a structure in place where this program is working, and this community needs to understand that if young people aren't graduating, that's a real challenge for us as a total community. So these programs are working, they're proven, and now we got the data to support it. So I'm all about sustaining it, keeping it where it is, and keeping it vibrant and where it is because the program is working.
Okay, last question. Give us an estimate of graduation rate and dropout rate. We got the graduation rate, 90%. What about the dropout rate?
Okay, so what I need to do is I'll bring a small group back, whoever wants to listen. I'll give you the mathematical version of it because 90% is like a standard for everybody in that sense. And people will say, well, your dropout rate is 10%. You need to understand, if we start with, I'm going to try to give this as easy as I can. You start with a cohort of 100 freshmen. If 10 of those kids drop out, and now you have 90 kids going into the sophomore year, the dropout rate is 10% at that point. That becomes cumulative in that sense. We divide that out each year by mathematical standards. So kind of looking at this from the vantage point, our graduation rate is 90%, 10% differential, but graduation rates around dropout rates around 2.5 to 3% because you divide it by 4, if that makes sense. It's somewhat complicated. But our graduation or dropout rate is right where it needs to be. Let me rephrase that. Our graduation rate in comparison to other indicators is right in the margin of where other districts are. I always want that to be lower, and we need to get that closer to about the 2% level, and quite frankly, I'd like to eliminate it altogether. But there's so many variables that affect graduation rate and dropout rate. We'll never get to 100%. It's just impossible, because of all the variables that occur with life happening to individuals along the way, and it's based upon on-time graduation rate and 5-year graduation rate. I don't have a definitive number to give you about dropout rate because we have to continue to submit that to MSDE. We're waiting on that reconstituted rate to come out. But where we are in terms of state standards, it's right within the bounds with the state levels as well. So that's my last comment on that. Is that the last question? So thank you for your time. Great seeing all of you.